Ladies and gents, welcome back after over 2 years of pandemic hysteria, lockdowns, and mask mandates. People are concerned and they want to have a open, rigorous debate on what is actually happening. We have had recent calls for a pandemic amnesty for people with their misbehaviors. And well, people are not having that, and they're calling for an open inquiry. And it looks like we just may have that. CPAC is reporting former Reform Party leader Preston Manning announces in Ottawa that organization is underway for an independent, citizen-led inquiry into the federal government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
As you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has been an unprecedented event as far as Canada, the countries in the world are concerned. And the responses by the governments to COVID-19 has been unprecedented as well. And one of the consequences of that is a large number of people, at least that I've heard from, want to see an independent, national, citizen-led inquiry into what went right, what went wrong, and most importantly for the future, what lessons can be learned from how this was managed that would be ensure better management in the future. So the purpose of this conference this morning is to announce that an inquiry of that kind is being organized, national, independent, citizen-led inquiry into Canada's response to COVID-19.
Now, people are obviously wondering, is this going to have any teeth? Is this going to, what can be done here? One of the questions I heard in that press conference was poignant. Exactly how will this play out?
Usually a public inquiry, the strength of it is that they have a legislative power to compel testimony, to make sure that those who know actually give a testimony, which you wouldn't have with a citizen-led commission. So how do you ensure the credibility of the process if you can't ensure that those who know will actually appear?
No, that's a good question. We looked at that, of course. Normally on issues like this, like you're suggesting, the inquiry would be held under the Public Inquiries Act, either the federal one or the provincial ones, where the commissioners would have the power to compel witnesses to appear. And this inquiry that doesn't have that. Now, the reason for doing this as a citizen-led inquiry is because so many people are suspicious that if the government commissions an inquiry to look into how the government handled things, that would be biased. So the idea was to try to make this thing a citizen-led inquiry. It will not have the powers to compel witnesses to appear, although it can invite them to appear and publicly invite them to appear. And when they say they won't, if that's what they say, it does raise the question, how come? What have you got to hide? But that is one of the challenges of holding this inquiry as basically a citizen-led one, not a government-sanctioned one.
But again,
So this is an ongoing story, and I'm happy to report on it as things develop. But yeah, obviously, maybe it'll have teeth, maybe it won't have teeth. The whole idea is to publicly air this. Now, again, I mentioned people are calling, the ones that were vitriolic, the ones that were horrible to their neighbors, the ones that encouraged lockdowns, encouraged the useless use of well, I don't know if I can say certain things on this channel, but anyway, declaring a pandemic amnesty. People are wanting to get off scot-free for their misbehaviors, and people are just not having it. On Twitter, we have Carl Vernon saying, "I don't think that I'm the only one who looks back at this stuff with intense anger and confusion." This was, of course, the dancing nurses and doctors that had nothing to do because they were just they shut down the hospitals. They wouldn't allow people in for regular things. And then, of course, you know, Granny would be down the hall suffering and not allowed to see her family. Things like this. just absolutely infuriating from the time. I found this TikTok. It was just actually really poignant and right on spot on.
Yeah, it turns out that this was all a lie. Yep. I was really just kind of hoping we could put all this behind us and move on. Is that an apology? Because it doesn't really sound like one. I know that I called you a grandma killer, but I really just wanted what was best for you. I actually couldn't visit my grandma in the hospital or even attend her funeral, but my heart was in the right place. I also lost my business and my job. I had good intentions, and my kids' social, mental, and physical development was also hurt. Listen, we just didn't know. I knew, lots of people knew, but you refused to listen. Instead, you called us names and wished death upon us. Let's just call a truce, okay? But according to your hat, you care about social justice. What does that have to do with anything? Why don't you care about justice here? I don't hear you demanding apologies or reparations. Because that would have to come from me, and we just need to move on. So you don't believe in accountability for systemic injustices when you're the one guilty. Can't we just build back and move forward? I don't want to build back a system that allowed this to occur. Don't you want peace? I found this sign on the ground. Maybe you recognize it.
Absolutely. So that this is how a lot of people are feeling right now, and an actual open citizen-led inquiry might be the right thing and at the right time. I'm not sure how this will pan out. I'm happy to report more on it as the story develops. This is basically all we know so far. Preston Manning is putting this together and he's leading it. Links, as always, in the description down below. You can watch the full press conference and get your own opinion based on what you hear there. But as always, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. We'll get a rigorous debate happening in the comment section. I noticed that that's been happening these days. And it's good. It's good. But yeah, I'd like to, I'm probably going to expand further on this in the live stream tonight at 6:30 Pacific time, at 9:30 Eastern, if that's your time zone. Check your local time zone when that will be. But I'll be live tonight. We'll be discussing this and other topics. And I hope to see you there. Looking forward to it. And we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.